Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Uzma Jafri. Here are the top stories we are tracking for you on Friday, the 4th of October. Sheikh Hasina woos Indian business community to invest in Bangladesh. Newly appointed Indian Air Force Chief calls Balakot strike milestone. And Nepal turning out to be gateway for Chinese criminals. And now for all the details. Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, on the second day of her visit to India on Friday, attended the India-Bangladesh Business Forum in capital New Delhi. In her address, Hasina said huge potential exists in Bangladesh for Indian business community to invest in different sectors.
Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, who is on a 4-day visit to India on Friday, attended the India-Bangladesh Business Forum in capital New Delhi. India's Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal, present at the event, said that India is ready to share its expertise in the development of railway sector in Bangladesh and is looking to increase the frequency of 3 trains between the two countries. Addressing the business forum, Bangladesh Prime Minister Hasina highlighted on enhancing trade and investments between the two countries and said huge potential exists in Bangladesh for Indian business community in different sectors.
We also want to see trade and investment together where Indian big investors can set up industries in Bangladesh and export the products to the northeastern states of India and to the Southeast Asian countries, taking advantage of the improved connectivity between us.
Hasina later in the day also attended the closing plenary session of the World Economic Forum in New Delhi. Hasina is scheduled to hold official talks with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Saturday, and several agreements are expected to be signed aimed at boosting bilateral ties.
Indian Air Force Chief RKS Bhadauria on Friday said the Air Force has achieved many milestones over the last 1 year, including the airstrike on a terror camp in Pakistan's Balakot. He made the remarks in his first press briefing after assuming charge.
Newly appointed Indian Air Force or IAF Chief Air Chief Marshal RKS Bhadauria on Friday hailed the February 26th airstrike on a terror launch pad in Pakistan's Balakot and said that the IAF has achieved many milestones over the last 1 year. Addressing his first press conference ahead of the Air Force Day on October 8, Bhadauria said that any future strike from Pakistan will be responded as per the government's directives. He also released a video depicting how the IAF on February 26th avenged the Pulwama terror attack by targeting the terror camp of Jaish-e-Mohammed or JEM in Balakot.
So ऐसा नहीं है कि अभी हम कुछ प्लान कर रहे हैं, हमको स्ट्राइक करने का कोई प्लान बना रहे हैं. तो अगर उनकी तरफ से कोई ऐसी हरकत होती है, कोई एक्टिविटी होती है, उसको रिस्पॉन्ड किया जाएगा एज द गवर्नमेंट डिसाइड्स. एंड ये कहना गलत है कि बालाकोट के बावजूद वो सब एक्टिविटीज़ हो रही हैं. अगर बालाकोट नहीं होता तो उस एक्टिविटी का लेवल एंड उस एक्टिविटी का रेंज कुछ और होता.
The Indian Air Force Chief also admitted that the crashing of a Mi-17 chopper, which killed 6 personnel on board a day after the Balakot airstrike, was a case of friendly fire and assured action against those guilty. The Balakot airstrike on February 26th by the IAF was conducted in response to killing of at least 40 Indian paramilitary personnel in a JEM-claimed suicide bombing in Pulwama in India's Jammu and Kashmir on February 14th.
Moving on to news from Afghanistan. The United Nations Security Council has called on Afghan electoral institutions to ensure that the votes of Afghans in a recently held presidential poll are accurately counted and that results are determined in a fair, inclusive and transparent manner.
The United Nations Security Council or UNSC called on the Afghan electoral institutions to ensure that the votes of Afghans in presidential polls are accurately counted and that the results are determined in a fair, inclusive and transparent manner. The members of the Security Council, in a statement issued on Wednesday, regarded the holding of the presidential elections in Afghanistan on September 28 as another important step in the democratic development of the country. The council also condemned Taliban attacks on election day and shared condolences with the families of the victims who were killed or wounded in the attacks. Earlier this week, the Independent Election Commission had announced that more than 2 million votes were cast in 4,384 centers across Afghanistan. Officials from the Independent Electoral Complaints Commission also rebuked candidates for making premature judgments on election results, saying those candidates who claim victory early are in violation of election law. This came as Chief Executive Abdullah, a 3-time presidential contender, on Tuesday said his team will form the next government as they have received the highest number of votes. Other campaigns have also declared they would be winners if the votes were counted with transparency.
The decades-long illegal occupation and denial of development by Pakistan has pushed Gilgit-Baltistan into a state of abject poverty. Locals continue to suffer due to lack of basic facilities, dilapidated roads and poor electricity supply.
Gilgit-Baltistan is one of the most beautiful places in the world with snow-clad mountain peaks, lush green valleys and freshwater lakes. However, nearly 7 decades of Pakistan's illegal occupation has pushed Gilgit-Baltistan into the most neglected, backward and poorest area in the South Asian region. Today, the region lies in a crumbling state with no proper infrastructure and dilapidated roads haunting the people's lives. Locals said lack of infrastructure is creating a major problem in their everyday lives. Apart from poor roads, frequent power cuts have also added to the woes of the people of Gilgit-Baltistan.
तो सर हमारे ये रोड नहीं है, ये रोड बना तो हमें लिए बहुत बड़ा सहूलत होते है। जब यहाँ कोई मरीज़ होते तो हमें उस पर जो चरपाई पर बिठा कर ले जाते हैं कुछ तक, तो एक तकरीबन बहुत लंबे रास्ते हैं, तो यहाँ पर सब गुजर इलाके के भाई सब गुजर, लेकिन ये रास्ते कोई रोड सही न बनाया।
हम इंतज़ामिया से ये अपील करना चाहते हैं और उनसे ये दरख्वास्त करते हैं कि जल्दी हमारा जो है ये पावर हाउस तैयार हो जाए और हमें यहाँ पे बिजली की बहुत इंतहाई मुश्किलात हैं। और दूसरी बात यह है कि हमारी रोड जो है ये नामुकम्मल है और यहाँ पे काफ़ी मसाइल हैं और रोड बिल्कुल दुश्वार है और यहाँ पे सवारी गाड़ी लेकर सवारी नहीं आ सकते हैं। तो ये भी हमारी रिक्वेस्ट है गवर्नमेंट से कि हमारी रोड को थोड़ा वसी भी कर ले और इसको सही तरतीब से बना ले।
With false promises by the government of Gilgit-Baltistan, which is merely a puppet in the hands of Islamabad, residents continue to suffer in darkness. Gilgit-Baltistan was part of India's erstwhile Jammu and Kashmir before being illegally occupied by Pakistan in 1947. The region is now synonymous with sectarian violence and violation of human rights.
Nepal is turning out to be a gateway for Chinese criminals with frequent illegal activities by Chinese nationals in the country. Nepal police most recently rounded up 6 Chinese nationals in Kathmandu for allegedly hacking security system and withdrawing millions from ATMs.
Nepal is turning out to be a gateway for Chinese criminals with rising number of frequent illegal activities by Chinese nationals in the country. Nepal police had rounded up 6 Chinese nationals in capital Kathmandu city this week for allegedly hacking security system and withdrawing millions of rupees from ATMs across the Himalayan nation. The arrests came after 4 Chinese nationals were arrested last month for their alleged involvement in a bride trafficking racket.
सबैभन्दा पहिला त नेपालको बैंकिङहरुको सुरक्षा प्रणाली एकदमै कमजोर छ र चिनियाहरु चाहिँ सुरक्षा प्रणालीका छिद्रहरु पहिलाएर त्यहाँ भित्र छिर्न एकदम सक्षम देखिन्छन्। जति पनि ह्याकिङका केसहरु भएछन् तर त्यसमा पक्राउ परेका चिनियाहरु देखिन्छन्। उनीहरुले धेरै जसो सोर्स कोडहरु चोरी गरेको देखिन्छ र कतिपय अवस्थामा चाहिँ कोडहरुलाई नयाँ एटीएम कार्ड भित्र राखेर त्यसलाई उपभोक्ताले प्रयोग गरे जस्तै गरेर पनि उनीहरुले पैसा निकालेर गएको देखिन्छ।
Chinese smugglers used to smuggle gold from Tatopani border that joins Nepal with China before the area suffered extensive damage due to the 2015 earthquake. Since then, the Chinese criminals have shifted their attention to smuggle goods at Rasuwa-Kerung border crossing or sometimes carry out their illegal acts at the Tribhuvan International Airport.
18 Sri Lankan fishermen were apprehended and their 8 fishing boats were seized by the Indian Coast Guard on Thursday for allegedly fishing in Indian waters. Fishermen from both the countries frequently stray into each other's territory and then end up spending years in jails.
18 Sri Lankan fishermen were apprehended and 8 boats were seized by the Indian Coast Guard on Thursday for illegally fishing in Indian waters. The apprehended fishermen and their boats were brought to Karaikal port in southern India by the authorities and a case has been registered. Further investigation was underway till the last reports came in.
பாக்சல சந்தியில் மீன்பிடித்துக் கொண்டிருந்த யாழ்ப்பாணத்தைச் சேர்ந்த 8 படகுகளையும் 18 மீனவர்களையும் நம்ம இந்திய கடலோர காவல்படை கைது செய்து இப்ப காரைக்கால் கடற்படை தளத்துல வச்சு விசாரிச்சுக்கிட்டு இருக்காங்க. இது பாக்சல சந்தியை பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் ரொம்ப குறுகிய கடல் பகுதி. இந்திய மீனவர்கள் அந்த பக்கம் போய் மீன் பிடிப்பதும் அதேபோல இலங்கை மீனவர்கள் இந்திய எல்லைக்குள்ள வந்து மீன் பிடிப்பதும் ஒரு சர்வசாதாரணமாக நீண்ட காலமாக நடக்கக்கூடிய பிரச்சனை.
India and Sri Lanka share an expensive oceanic border without any perceptible demarcation, and fishermen on both sides ignore rules while netting their catch. Fishermen from both the countries frequently stray into each other's territory and end up spending years in jails.
The first woman grappler from India's Jammu and Kashmir has appealed people of the Kashmir Valley to be the guiding force of their daughters and help them realize their dreams. NAHIDA NABI, who herself faced a lot of opposition for becoming a professional wrestler, urged parents to encourage their daughters and make them wrestlers.
A role model to all aspiring sportswomen in India's Jammu and Kashmir, first Kashmiri woman grappler NAHIDA NABI has appealed people to guide their daughters and help them realize their dreams. While participating in a wrestling competition in Katra town this week, NABI urged parents that apart from government Save the Girl Child and Educate the Girl Child campaign, they should encourage their daughters to become wrestlers. NABI, who is now a professional wrestler, had to face a lot of opposition and struggle to play the male-dominated sport.
जो अंदर अभी लड़कियां अंदर हैं, उनको अभी पता नहीं है कि सपोर्ट्स का वैल्यू कितना है, कितना अपग्रेड हो रहा है. पीएम मोदी जी से मैं यही अपील कर रही हूँ, जैसे उसने एक नारा दिया था, बेटी पढ़ाओ और बेटी बचाओ. आज मैं उसके यहाँ से मेरी तरफ से उसको एज अ बेटी मैं उसको नारा दे रही हूँ, बेटी पढ़ा, बेटी बचा, बेटी को बढ़ा और बेटी को पहलवान बना. ये मेरा एक नारा है, ये संदेश उस तक पहुँचाना है.
Despite pressures from patriarchal society in the Kashmir Valley, new generation of young Kashmiri girls are participating in sports with great enthusiasm. The government also regularly organizes training sessions and championships in the region.
Well, that's the way it was in South Asia this evening. Before we conclude, the top stories once again. Sheikh Hasina woos Indian businesses community to invest in Bangladesh. Newly appointed force chief calls Balakot strike milestone. And Nepal turning out to be a gateway for Chinese criminals. Now our viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/SAsiaNewsline and follow us on Twitter @SAsiaNewsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We will see you same time next week. Have a great weekend. Good night.